Hello, it's Peter Wright and Kathleen Beauvais with the weekly wrap-up of the Yakking Show, and we're wrapping up the week ending 8th of November. And as you'll see, we're both wearing our poppies because this is our last weekly episode before Remembrance Day on the 11th of November, which is on Monday, if I remember rightly.
Yes, that's right.
And so we do this in honor of all our veterans, and I am included in that myself, having fought in a terrorist war in Rhodesia. And incidentally, the 11th of November is even more special for me because that was our Independence Day. It was the anniversary when our Prime Minister, Ian Douglas Smith, declared independence from Britain on the 11th of November 1965, and we survived for another 15 years on our own. So a very important day for all Rhodesians and ex-Rhodesians. That's enough about me and my history. Let's welcome co-host Kathleen. How are you today, Kathleen?
I'm doing great, Peter. Thank you so much. And this is, I wear this in remembrance, of course, from all veterans, but especially my dad who fought on the front lines in Korea. So that's for him. So,
Yeah, very good. And both, even my mother, all those years ago, all 5'3" of her was a military policewoman in London during the Second World War, hauling great big 6-foot Air Force guys out of pubs and sending them off to military prison if they misbehave. Can you believe it?
wow.
And my dad served the whole war on various campaigns. So what's Kathleen? We're going to start off. We've got something interesting to talk about, and something worrying. I think you've got this deep dive into something on the health front. So why don't you go for it?
Well, Peter, remember a few weeks ago we talked about Ozempic
Hmm.
and how it's all the rage now. And we specifically talk about Ozempic face because people are losing weight too quickly. It gives them this gaunt look. Well, for those of you who are considering Ozempic or are on Ozempic, this is something else that you need to be aware of. And that is it's linked to about 162 deaths in the US. And why is that? So let's back up. So these drugs, Ozempic, Wegovy is another brand as well, which is the same kind of product. They've taken the world by storm, Peter. It was originally developed for type 2 diabetes, but their weight loss properties have captured the public, of course, with an estimated 20 million people using them annually. Can you believe
Ah,
that? Yeah. However,
20 million.
20 million people. Yeah. However, these drugs have been linked to some deaths in the US and have increased by 40% in just 6 months. The sharp increase in
Hmm.
death coincides with the expanding use of them, which makes sense. Since
Yeah.
2018, though, there have been 62,000 reported adverse reactions to these drugs, and these include pancreatitis, bowel obstructions, stomach paralysis, with 80 to 90% of users experiencing at least one adverse event.
Wow.
Yeah, studies have found a significant link between semaglutide, which is the active ingredient in Ozempic, and also suicidal ideations. Particularly though in patients taking antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications. And there have been emerging reports that indicate severe kidney problems in some patients using these weight loss drugs. So something to consider, Peter. I don't want to frighten anybody, but I mean, there's always effects to taking drugs, isn't there? However,
Absolutely.
there is some good news, not all bad news today. There is a natural Ozempic alternative. Want to know what that is?
What is it?
It's called Akkermansia. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. And by the way, this is taken from an article from Dr. Mercola's site, and we're going to provide that link for you to read. So instead of using Ozempic, you can naturally elevate your GPL, which is glucagon-like peptide levels by increasing the presence of beneficial bacteria,
Yeah.
which is called Akkermansia in your gut. So what does this GLP do? It instructs the body to metabolize the sugar in the bloodstream so that it releases insulin. So if you want to use Akkermansia supplements, they're saying look for ones with advanced dual time release capsules or microencapsulation. So these technologies keep the Akkermansia dormant and protect it until it reaches your colon, usually from
Mhm.
2 to 4 hours. So to maximize the effectiveness, they say, take it on an empty stomach, ideally first thing in the morning after an overnight fast, and wait at least 1 to 2 hours before eating to reduce the transit time, allowing the bacteria to reach your colon faster, usually within 2 hours. So
Hmm, there we
that's
go.
what I wanted to share with you today.
So from your research, are the Ozempic and similar drugs safe for people who are taking them for diabetes?
Well, I guess I don't have the answer to that, Peter, but I'm guessing if these are side effects from people taking it as a weight loss medication, would it not stand to reason that they might also be, you know,
Quite possibly. Of course, there's also the danger that if people are taking it for the secondary purpose of weight loss, might be taking too much. They might be taking more than someone who's prescribed it by the doctor at a specific. But who knows? It's still dangerous.
without a prescription? It's not over the counter, right? So
Ah,
you
okay,
have to
it's
go.
definitely prescription, yeah. But you know what happens with people and weight loss stuff, they tend to overdo it, right? But whatever, it still has some dangerous side effects. So you're quite
Yeah.
right. People should be cautious with that.
And yeah,
Wow.
like we said the last time on our wrap-up video, Peter, you're taking these drugs to lose all this weight, and it supposedly does work, but you lose it so quickly that you end up looking very gaunt. It has other
Gaunt.
side effects, of course. And as soon as you stop, because is that really maintainable? Taking a drug on an ongoing basis, is that really
No.
sustainable? No.
Anyway,
So as
no.
soon as you stop taking it, well, guess what? You put on the
Put the
weight.
weight back on.
And in some cases, they were saying that people put on even more weight after stopping.
More than, yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
something to consider for
That's
sure.
back to living as we nature intended us, and that's eating in moderation and exercising, right? That's the
There you go,
true
Peter.
long-term weight loss.
There you go.
There we go. Now, have you got a product for people to talk about today? Are we doing a recommended Dr. Morse product?
Well, Peter, I would also recommend. I know we did this last week because it fit with what we talked about, but because we're talking about akkermansia and the gut health, I would go back and really promote the GI broom, which is really for overall immune health and gut
Hmm.
health, but it's also a great it's great for lymphatic flow. So it's part of a whole detox system, Peter. And we're going to put a link to that as well in this video.
Sure.
And of course, because it's a Dr. Morse product, and if you go to the website and put in Yakking Show as your code, you will get a discount.
That's right. And all those links will be, as Kathleen says, the links will be there for you.
Mhm.
And we forgot to mention at the top of the show, there's a very important day for our American listeners today and American followers because it was your election last night. And if you're anything like Kathleen, you sat up till the early hours of the morning to find out the result. I didn't. I made it till about 11:15 last night and said, "Well, I've had enough," and went to bed.
I was up until 2 a.m. just because I couldn't, I just was glued to it. I just wanted to see what the results would be. So,
Right. Yeah, interesting viewing and interesting developments coming along.
mhm.
So we've been talking about health. Let's talk about what happened on the Yakking show this week. Well,
Mhm.
our guest on Tuesday was a very uh, able gentleman called Jeff Patterson, who's an author. He's a martial arts expert, but he's more importantly, he's an expert in the meditative arts and Tai Chi and Qigong. And he was good. He was telling us how by using the meditative arts, you can live a much more fulfilling life and a less stressed life, which is really important. So that's a good episode. And it's on YouTube and it's on all the major audio platforms, and of course on Rumble as well. And it's on our website. So hop over and have a look at that. Who's coming up next week? Next week we have Douglas Mulhall coming back for his third time with us. This time he's talking about elastin and specifically how elastin is showing great potential for helping reduce aneurysms and make them less liable to burst and therefore cause you a critical situation or even a fatal situation. It's a little bit technical, but it's fairly easy to follow and a very interesting article. And it looks like there's going to be huge potential for both Douglas's company and others that are working on the use of elastin to repair and heal all sorts of conditions and problems in the human body. So that's a good one. The week after that will be Alan Lazaros, very go ahead younger guy and full of optimism and positivity. And his whole thing is about fulfilling your potential. And he talks about how he works with his clients, his own story of how he overcome a lot of obstacles and has become successful. It's not your typical self-help show, but it has a lot of good stuff in there. If you really want to work to your potential, then you want to listen or watch that one. And the week of that will be Ellie Leclerc, who's an expert on dementia and Alzheimer's. And she has a lot of interesting things about those two conditions there that I was not aware of. How young people can start showing signs of dementia, for instance, is quite frightening.
Yeah.
And some of the things you can do to either prevent it or certainly delay the onset, and also has good advice for you if you are younger adults worried about older parents. There's a lot in there that would help you. So that's our guests that are coming up. And then we got, sorry, Kathleen, do you want to add anything on any of those guests?
Oh, yeah, all fabulous. I mean, we are so blessed. We are really blessed to interview such incredible people. So I'm very excited about these people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we have several more before the end of the year. Really interesting. I'll give you a little teaser on one. She's written a book, which I'm in the process of reading, and there's some fascinating information. It's a sort of philosophical book looking at the evolution of humans. I'm not going to say a lot more because you really need to listen to the episode when we do it. That's going to be a fascinating one. Let's move on to our featured author. Our featured author is this week's Tuesday guest, Jeff Patterson, with his book, The Yielding Warrior, Discovering Your Path to Unleashing Your True Potential. And he distills 30 years of experience in the meditative arts and working with people in this book on how you can use the principles of the meditative arts to live a better life, reduce your stress, but certainly live to your potential. And it's not all about making a lot of money. He goes into some of the real solid stuff about living a better, more balanced life. So that's our book coming up. And Kathleen, I think that's about it from me, except to remind everyone we've got this long list of really good guests coming up. Make sure you don't miss out on any of them. Hop onto the website, theyakkingshow.com, and sign up for our newsletter. Just send you one email a week, tell you who's on this week, who's coming next week. That's me done. Back to you, Kathleen.
Well, thank you so much for tuning into our wrap-up video for this week. And until next week, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.